Today's episode of Still Untitled is brought to you by Automatic. Automatic is a tiny piece of hardware that brings your car into the 21st century. Just plug it into your car, pair it with your smartphone, and you'll have access to a wide range of valuable information like your fuel expenses and your driving habits. Automatic can even detect a crash and call for help. So go to automatic.com and use the offer code UNTITLED, like this podcast, Untitled, when checking out to get 20% off. Now on with the show.
Welcome to Still Untitled, the Adam Savage Project. I'm Will.
Oh, I'm Adam.
And I'm Norm.
You look like the White Witch.
I brought this in, but many people know that I collect lightsabers and robots and all sorts of
Pretty much everything.
Ephemera, everything.
Yeah.
But one of my particular favorite things are weirdly staffs. Like I have all of the wizard staffs that were released for Lord of the Rings, Gandalf's Radagast's, Gandalf's other, etc. And this is a replica of the White Witch's magic staff from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And I have to say, it is actually maybe one of the loveliest production piece props I've ever seen.
It's you. I saw you when you were walking in, and I was like, that is really gorgeous.
Yeah.
It looks like a spear. Is it a kryptonite spear?
It's not a kryptonite spear.
Oh,
What?
okay.
Okay, but I have another piece too, and this is my Cthulhu octopus cane.
This is one of the first things we talked about on this podcast. I think,
Was it
years
really?
ago. Yeah,
Did we? I forgot that.
but it was when like 3 people were listening.
You got
so
it
go
from
for it.
Etsy.
I got it from Etsy. A guy named let's see, I wrote it down. Della Morteco, Dellamorteco. He sculpted this, and I made an arrangement with him, and I got one in stainless steel.
Ooh.
And then I turned this zebra wood handle for it.
Oh wow, I didn't know.
Right.
that.
He doesn't sell the whole staff. He just sells.
No.
the
He
cane
does
top.
sell a whole
Oh,
staff, absolutely. But he had one cast in stainless, and I bought one from him.
Right.
And then I just bought the head because I wanted to turn it.
And did you weather it up so it's a little grungy as you do?
I did.
Yeah,
That's the kind of thing a gentleman spy would walk around with.
It is.
it's a good cane.
It is exact. This is actually feel it. You could get into. You could.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Yes. There is
That is
weight.
a real
yeah,
weapon.
if you
right
wonked
there.
somebody on the head with that, they would probably not be getting up.
No,
Yeah.
they would stay down.
Or we could unleash the Kraken.
Okay, so speaking of when only 3 people listen to the podcast,
Yes.
and where we are now, I was at Ritual yesterday buying some coffee, and this is my neighborhood.
I do
coffee
that
shop.
too.
At Ritual.
Yeah. That's where I go to get my beans because I don't have a ritual in my neighborhood.
Yes. So I go back and forth between Ritual and Stanza on 16th Street. And at Ritual, this guy came up to me and he goes, I'm a big fan. And I said, oh, thank you very much. And he said, I'm listening to your podcast right now.
Well, that has never happened.
I was like, you got any questions? I actually didn't say that. But random dude at Ritual listening to the podcast, welcome.
Cool.
He's only random to me. He's not random to anybody else.
So
You know I find
He's an actual
interesting.
specific.
Yeah.
dude.
Because we also get a lot of people who are new to the podcast every week.
Yeah.
People are discovering it. People go back and listen. They
We have a lot of
binge.
archives.
They binge
Do
on
they
it,
really?
and that's terrifying. for me.
Right. Well, I think of it as, yeah, I know what you mean.
I mean, we've done a couple hundred hours of this now, and and Norm and I have done another 300 episodes of the other podcast.
But when someone says, "Oh, I just finished the backlog,"
Right.
And
You're
I'm
like, what?
what?
Yeah.
In a
it's
weekend?
a lot of material.
How many
Yeah.
times do we contradict ourselves?
Oh, many. Well,
So many.
We're all hypocrites.
Just to wrap up, I went and saw 10 Cloverfield.
Yeah, is it good?
Oh my god,
Really?
it is.
Okay, so
It's not a spoiler cast.
Right, yep.
Yeah, because I haven't seen it.
But I saw it in the morning. I just went one. I had a little bit of time to kill, and I went and saw it. And if you could, it's late now. If you can go and see it without knowing anything about it,
I don't know anything about
that
it.
would be great. It is super duper good. It is one of the more tense movies I've seen in a long time. It's nothing like the first movie.
And are you wearing new glasses?
I did. I got VR glasses.
They're
Sorry, this is like-
Spielberg glasses.
I
What do
did.
you
I
mean?
accidentally got Spielberg glasses.
Oh, they look terrific. I don't think of them as Spielberg glasses.
I went in.
It's not an insult. Spielberg has a great choice in
It
glasses.
sounds like it is coming
He's
from
a
you, Norm.
sartorial. Wow. That was Adam. Haters. So I went to Warby Parker over on, and I took my measuring thing
IPD.
to get the narrow
The narrowest
the
frame
micrometer
fit within VR goggles.
because I needed something that I could take
Right.
the goggles on and off without grabbing them. and this works.
Nice.
So yeah, it was either that or get the surface of my eyeballs sculpted with lasers. So I chose not to do that so far.
You, speaking of VR goggles,
Yes.
you had an announcement.
Yeah, so we did what in the business you call a soft launch on Friday night. Because I was
to everyone. It's totally normal.
hey, I'm not the one that has the staff collection. So I was on another show, and we got word from Oculus that we were finally approved, that our app was finally approved. And, when you release on like a console or an app store or a new platform like this, usually they have a little bit of a hand on, and they make sure that like you've dotted all your I's and crossed your T's. And with VR especially, it's important because if you mess up, you're gonna make people feel bad. You're gonna make them physically ill.
Right.
So we got word at about 4:00 on Friday afternoon that we'd finally cleared the process, and I was sitting there
Push
on
the big red
camera,
button.
looking at my phone, saying, I could launch at Friday at 4:00 on April Fool's.
Yes.
Now.
That's like when the White House puts out its worst.
Yeah, that's when you release the we accidentally killed a few thousand people by it was the wrong people. The AI targeted the wrong guys. Oops.
Yeah.
It's when Microsoft releases there are 35 million infected Windows PCs report.
Exactly.
Well, it turns out for a lot of people are on the computer all the time.
Well, that's
the
the
weekend's a great time to start downloading
totally.
and trying new things.
And I sat there and I thought about it. I was like, look, the people who are going to be trying this, the people who have Oculus Rifts right now are going to come home from work. They're going to load it up. They're going to look at the stuff that they've done all week, and they're going to see something new, and they're going to try it out. And we had, by far, even including when Norm and I launch tested, the best reaction I've ever had to anything that we've made.
That's fantastic.
Like universally positive. The people who tried it, a lot of people are like, this sounds a little weird, and they tried it, and they're like, oh, this is really neat.
Have you announced it on YouTube?
We have not. This is the YouTube exclusive.
That's fantastic.
So what we're building is a framework for creating lightly interactive television-like content that lives in VR. It's 3D rendered that you can interact with. There's people have captured some videos, so you can go look at them.
Right.
But the first show is the Foo Show. It's featuring me, and I interview people who make cool things, as we have in the past. And the first people I talked to are these guys, Jake Rodkin and Sean Vanneman from Campo Santo. Mm-hmm. They made a little adventure game. They made an indie adventure game called Firewatch. And in Firewatch, you're this guy who's kind of running away from problems in his life, and he goes to be a Firewatch guy in the Wyoming woods in the late 80s. So like you spend a lot of time in this watchtower that's a little 14 by 14 foot box on the top of a really high stilts, and you walk around this environment. It's basically you walk in the woods, and then sometimes mysterious stuff happens in the woods.
I heard about this game. It sounds fascinating.
So I know we've been promising this for a long time, but there are like 3 games that have come out in the last few years
that you would be
really into.
Yeah.
And this is one of them.
Awesome.
I want to try.
So he basically, we recreated that watchtower in our game, in our engine, in the show.
Nice.
So we talked about the game for a little bit. We showed a clip, and then in the clip, you walk up to the door of the watchtower, and I said, "Hey guys, do you want to go into the watchtower?" And we teleport into the watchtower, and they can walk around and experience this space as if it's real.
Wow.
That they've been working on for 2 years.
That they've been looking on a flat screen.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it becomes real for them in a really short order, and we're all in the room together. So there's 3 people in the VR room, which is kind of an unusual situation. And the people who are watching this in their goggles get that same experience. So like when I'm talking to Jake can pick up a prop from the room and say, "Hey, take a look at this." Jane made this. Their modeler made this in an afternoon. She streamed the making of it on YouTube, so you can see how she turned this thing from a cylinder into a thing that looks like a Coleman lantern.
Right.
We talked about the little jokes that they put on copy that they expect no one to ever see. Like there's dozens of books in the game. They wrote like back blurbs for all of them.
Yeah.
They wrote journal pages for the character in the game, and they're all there. And then we also got to see a little bit about how like behind the scenes stuff, like how in a video game, not everything has a back, right? Because lots of you you're not going to be able to interact with. And we pulled all that stuff off, and we're able to look at that and show how that stuff works. And it gives you both a real appreciation for the amount of love and effort that goes into making that game.
Yeah.
But also lets you kind of experience it in a whole new way.
God, that's really cool.
So people like the reaction was shockingly positive. If you want to try it out, it's in Oculus Home right now. It's called The Foo Show. You can look for that. It's just in early access. And we'll be on Vive hopefully this week, maybe next week at the latest.
And there's a website people can visit?
They can go to foovr.com. FOO.com.
F-U.
FO.
F-O-O.
F-O-O, sorry.
FOO. It's another. I have a fondness for placeholder names.
Yes.
So foo is
And
what
Still
programmers
Untitled
write.
was already taken.
Yeah, exactly. Still Untitled was already taken. So we're gonna have both more episodes of the Foo Show, and then later this year we're gonna roll out a bunch of new different kinds of shows. Because I think that part of my basically I think it's going to be VR presents a lot of really interesting opportunities to break the fourth wall and make interesting kinds of like lightly interactive linear content.
That's the thing about the interactive part that I think is very interesting.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, I feel like just given how much I love FaceTime and Skype, I feel like that interacting with other people in VR is more of a killer app to me than gaming.
The social aspect.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
When you get in the room with other people and there's a lot. Normally, we'll talk about this on this is only a test this week, I'm sure, but. I mean, basically, we only show you other people. We don't show you yourself because then your proprioception doesn't jack up the what we're rendering in the headset.
Yeah.
But when you're in a room with 3D modeled avatars that move and behave like an actual human, it turns out it doesn't take that much body language to make something read as human. When Norm and I saw Oculus Touch, which just showed a wireframe head and wireframe hands, I realized within like 20, 30 seconds of being in there that my brain was treating that wireframe as if it was a person.
Right.
Just because it was moving like I
Right.
expect
It had
a person to move.
and that incontrovertible human movement.
I see eyes on cars all the time.
Yeah.
Faces on cars.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the opposite of the uncanny valley, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, I think we can do all sorts of weird, interesting, bizarre, cool things there.
That's awesome.
And if you want to know more, you can follow me on Twitter at Will Smith or go to FooVR, check out the page. There's a Medium post too, but I don't know what the link is for that.
Well, we had a couple of fill-in podcasts while I was gone. I just got back into town on Friday after 2 weeks away.
Ooh.
Yeah.
A long time. So I was in San Antonio for a corporate appearance that went really well. Then I flew to New York, where I happened to arrive the night Tom Sachs was having a big retrospective opening, not just retrospective, a brand new, wonderful show at the Noguchi Museum in New York. And that was the opening night. So I went to that and went to the dinner. And then we were in New York for a few days, my wife and I.
What were some of the things at the show that caught your eye?
The big thing at the show is tea ceremony. It's something Tom's been working on for a while, which is his take on the Japanese tea ceremony.
Huh.
And given that Tom's work is really deeply about the sense of transcendence within the repetition and ritual of a shop, tea ceremony, the Japanese tea ceremony, absolutely exemplifies that, and he has taken that deeply to heart and really run with it in a way I find. I mean, I'm completely biased here, invigorating and amazing. And this show is beautiful. From my understanding, the Noguchi Museum, which is devoted to Isamu Noguchi's work, has never had a show of an outside artist before.
Wow.
They are planning to do more, and Tom is the first.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Is it another kind of like he's kind of got a cargo cult thing going a lot of times, right?
There are a bunch of toolkits. There's a beautiful piece. I tweeted it. A foam core mop bucket, but the McDonald's ergonomic back saving mop bucket. It's like the minimum amount of work McDonald's realized how to get you to do your job without ruining your body so you could work longer.
Oh, so they can increase their profits.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I saw Hamilton.
You did.
I did.
There's a chance you might not have made it.
No,
and
we
you
made
did.
It.
Okay.
We did. We made it.
Wow.
And we saw it a week ago Thursday in New York City. We saw it with most of the original company. There was a couple of understudies. They were amazing. We saw Lin Miranda.
Yes, okay.
Lin-Manuel Miranda was in it. And more than that, in a wonderful fantasy camp day, we got to hang out a little bit afterwards. And we went bowling. I didn't bowl, but there's a Broadway bowling league.
Why didn't you bowl?
I got invited. It was a league, so I
you
couldn't bowl.
Yeah.
But
You were in the cheering section.
really, the whole company of Hamilton, the whole company, the crew, the cast, everyone could not have, it was a where do I begin?
You seem verklempt.
Yeah. Oh my
It's a
goodness.
transformative show.
And you had been building it up for yourself.
Oh,
for
I've been
so
listening
long.
to Hamilton like once or twice a day for months.
Every time
Yes.
I've come in for the last several recordings,
Yeah.
my entry music is
Some song from Hamilton.
Yes, some song from Hamilton.
So and that didn't prepare me for how amazing the show is. in
That's
person.
good.
It's
I'm
coming
excited.
to LA. It's coming to San Francisco. It's coming to Chicago
I
in
have tickets.
2017.
You got tickets?
What's that?
I have tickets.
You do?
Shh, birthday present.
It's shh. You
When
know
are
it's
you
getting
going?
out. You know.
No one listens to this podcast.
The show is incredible.
Oh,
It is really important. It is such a beautiful cast. They are so okay, I'd been listening to it so long, I had worked out a lot of the blocking in my head.
Yeah.
Right? This is like you get so familiar with the way people are talking, what they're talking about, you realize, oh, that must be a transition from this to that. And yet,
well, could you imagine you'd seen the stage?
I had seen the stage from the Grammys. I'd watched the White House clips. I'd watched.
So you did your research beforehand,
I'd
not
watched
to
iPhone videos,
blow
from the
your
theater.
expectations, or you wanted to have them somewhat aligned, which I think is important.
And I don't think that any amount of pre-exposure to pieces of this show online will ruin it for anybody.
I'm so excited now for the Tonys because I know he's going to sing a different song for the Tonys, and I bet it's going to be my shot.
A couple of things are real.
What did he sing at the Grammys?
At the Grammys is
the opening
Okay.
song. The company is amazing. Leslie Odom stands out. Who plays Burr?
Yeah.
He stands out as having maybe I think one of the more difficult tasks to always show a duality to his character. He is always bridging a gap between civility and what
I'm
he's
getting
waiting
chills because I'm thinking of the song where he sings about his daughter.
Oh, Theodosia, and the room where it happens is amazing. The actor brings a precision to the role of Burr that I found shocking to watch. David Diggs, who plays the Marquis de Lafayette, and
Yes.
Jefferson. My wife, I think on many days since we've seen Hamilton, has just said to herself, David. He is so charismatic and so amazing in both roles. The costumes are incredible. We got to go backstage. I took pictures of the costumes hanging on the racks. Oh, it was amazing. And I want to go see it again. I'll see it when it comes out here. They are carefully building the traveling companies. Like I said, there are people who are like, oh, I'm nervous that it'll come out here and I'll see it with a different cast. Don't worry. I saw a different Washington. Chris Jackson wasn't there that night. I saw it with a different actor, and he was amazing. I saw a different Angelica. She was incredible. They seem to have an axiom of the actor has to, the understudy has to hit their marks, but also they bring their own thing to it. Well, and they really do. They really make it.
My fear, and when we talked about this one last time, you talked about Hamilton, was do you listen to the soundtrack before you watch it? Because then you build up expectations like the blocking and the performance in your head. And if you watch it and it's not exactly as it is, then what does that change the experience?
So we have a wonderful test case here, and me and my wife. I had curated 3 or 4 songs for my wife before Hamilton, but I'm so obsessed. And when I'm deeply obsessed, I work carefully to manage how much my wife has to deal with
What
that.
were the 3 or 4 songs?
Well, but just to let you know, like I had reduced my obsession in her presence to 1 Hamilton fact per day. Because
This is
at what point of the
Hamilton
day
fact of the
does
day.
this
No, it's 'cause
fact
I'm
come
reading-
out? It's
I'm
like
all-
in the morning. I can't wait to tell you
it's
the fact.
exactly like this. I'm reading the Chernow bio, which is amazing, by the way. The Ron Chernow biography of Hamilton is beautiful history.
Which is the
Really-
book that Lin-Manuel read to come up with the book.
Exactly. And it's super inspiring. So much of the book is in the show, including there's a lyric where Hamilton's wife, the love of his life, Eliza Schuyler, has a sister, Angelica Schuyler. And by every measure from Hamilton's letters, there was a really deep amount of affection between him and both of the Schuyler sisters, and all of them with each other. And it's unknown whether Hamilton had an affair with Angelica Schuyler.
But those
There are
commas.
opinions, but their letters betray a very deep and abiding affection. So they play with that in the show. And at one point, Eliza Schuyler says, my sister wants to form a harem, and Angelica says, I'm just saying if you really loved me, you would share them. There's an actual letter from Angelica Schuyler saying something very similar
To her sister?
to her sister. Like,
Wow.
she calls him her amiable, her amiable,
Yeah.
or her amiable. I don't know if she's a Francophile or not.
Wow.
And says, if you would lend him to me, but no worries. I love that you have found such a clever man.
Well, so what was what were those songs?
Oh, so the songs, she had seen the Grammy performance.
Okay, so the opening.
She had watched him rap his acceptance speech. I had played for her One Last Time, Washington's beautiful song to Hamilton as he's leaving office, which is a really amazing song. And I had played for her the dual songs, or the trio, I think of as one large song of Winter's Ball, Helpless, and Satisfied.
It's kind of a
Oh,
medley,
wow.
perhaps,
Yeah,
but
those
not
are,
so
uh,
right.
Winter's Ball is Hamilton meeting the Schuyler sisters.
Yeah.
Helpless is Eliza Hamilton falling in love with Eliza Schuyler falling in love with Hamilton. And Satisfied is the same meeting from Angelica's point of view,
Perspective,
and
yes.
Angelica falling in love with Hamilton.
Yes.
And
that's right.
again,
Chills.
goosebumps.
Chills. Yes.
It's amazing.
Those songs I don't think adequately prepare you.
No. So the thing is that after the show, Julia is now listening to Hamilton every day.
Yeah.
She's now in stage 2 Hamilton obsession, which is she's waking up every morning with a different song in her head. So this morning she turns to me and she goes, "Today's song?" And I said, "Yes." And she goes, "I will kill your friends and
Oh, yes.
family to remind you of my love. Da 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 da."
And you saw it, but you listened to the soundtrack without seeing it. Now there are, I think, maybe 2 or 3 different podcasts
Really?
devoted to Hamilton, one of which are from these comedy writers who have never seen the show and still are obsessed like you are.
So I will tell you, I had, where was it? Jesus Christ, where was I? I had drinks with a bunch of the writers from Big Bang Theory, half of whom are totally obsessed with Hamilton and hadn't seen it. And we talked about it then. And then Thursday night, I was in Los Angeles. I did Thrilling Adventure Hour, my friends Acker and Blacker's wonderful stage show at Largo. And again, it's most of what we were talking about backstage among everybody was Hamilton, Hamilton, Hamilton.
I'll say that, I was also on the fence about whether to listen to it before eventually seeing it. Listening to it helps so much more because it's so dense.
And so this is what Julia said is, I wish I'd listened to more of it. It is so dense that you really do. There's so much layering to the lyricism and to what Lin-Manuel weaves into the lyricism, even down to, again, I said this before, each character has their own method of rhyming, has their own proclivities and their own places they go. Washington, I said this already on the podcast, but it's so clear when you listen to it. And when you're watching the way the actors imbue that physically, it's super thrilling. I also was unprepared for, King George has several songs, but they're all effectively the
one
same
song. And his giggle?
His Mozart giggle. The thing is that actor is so amazing on stage. Listening to his songs doesn't prepare you for how brilliantly funny that execution is on stage. It's an audience favorite.
So what is it like? What if you had to pick one thing? What is it that triggered the obsession on this? Is it that it feels like, for me, Hamilton feels very, very deliberate, and I mean that in the best possible way, as in everything is to a purpose, and it feels.
It's a story of a man's life, I think, that is deeply rooted in the origins of our country.
Yeah, it takes. This is what it does. And Lynn said that every time he tried to write everything political about the time through the personal. So the meeting where Hamilton decides to move the nation's capital from New York to the Potomac is a key moment in the book. But Lynn couldn't figure out how it went into the musical until he showed it through Burr's eyes in the song "The Room Where It Happened." That's how he made the political personal. And he takes this unbelievable story of America's founding with a bunch. I mean, the founding fathers are each one of them is genius in their own right, and the hagiography of the founding fathers is not hyperbolic. They're really an amazing, dynamic group of individuals, and Hamilton's import is so central, and the musical makes. While I recognize that there are historical inaccuracies and they moved some of the pieces of his life around for dramatic license, he makes the politics of that time so personal and helps you understand how movements like that can grow out of individuals' nature. It's so inspiring. And then the fact that the entire cast is people of color. It's such a beautiful show to watch. The dancers, the background dancers, are male and female and take male and female roles indiscriminately.
Okay.
Like gender just doesn't matter. They're all dressed the same. And then they'll put on costumes. There'll be redcoats. There'll be townspeople. The stage has revolving center that they use to such a great effect.
I mean, outside even just like the visual performance,
Yeah.
like the songs are catchy.
The music is captivating.
The music it's captivating. It's diverse. It's not like if I think originally if someone I heard it first, oh, it's like hip hop but history. That's not what it is.
Yeah.
There's a whole range of music, but the story, his story, and of a historical figure who before this we knew as the guy on the $10 bill or the guy in the Got Milk commercial, right? Directed by Michael Bay. Also,
Oh, really?
yeah, that commercial.
Really?
Yeah, got like Aaron Burr.
Wow.
Yeah, you get like there's an underdog status there, and it comes through, and then the end because it's a long musical.
Yeah, it's 2.5 hours.
And when you get to the end,
Intermission?
Yeah.
Okay.
the big like climactic reveal isn't it's really emotional. It's about how people remembered, and like I don't want to give too much away, but it's
Actually,
a very deeply personal thing.
Oh, it's even more than that. And I don't want to, this is actually a spoiler, but the end gives you a viewpoint into the situation that from the staging and the way the actors perform it, that's not necessarily fully extant in the libretto.
Okay.
That's amazing. It also has incredible depth to it. And I've said this, everyone has their own way of rapping. There's layering in the language. But it's just more than each repeated listening yields more depth and more clarity and more understanding. It just keeps on giving. And that's why I keep on saying that it's like Shakespeare. It's like Shakespeare was to the people of Shakespeare's time. It's a vernacular musical approach to history and to drama that brings the audience in.
I mean, that was a lot of it for me, is that, it made me think about something that I hadn't thought about in a really long time, seriously, and maybe look at it from a different perspective, and gave me a little bit more of a human perspective on things that were 3 paragraphs in a history book in my junior year in high school.
And also the staging is very mannerist. I mean, this one stage supplies for all the sets. Right. So the stage is at one time it's a city square, and then it's a drawing room, and then it's a duel, and then it's the war.
What's mannerist?
I mean, it's instead of trying to give you a suspension of disbelief like you're actually in a drawing room, it's basically you're clear that people are acting out that now we're in a drawing room. It's like it's like the
in that sense, it feels more like small theater than big theater.
And it reminded me of the opening monologue from Henry V, which is one of the great opening monologues about a play. It's worth reading just because, and it begins with the famous lines, "Oh, for a muse of fire." And the narrator of Henry V comes out and says, we're about to create a really big play with wars and kings and stuff, and it's going to be on this little tiny stage. So you're going to have to do a lot of the work in your head. And when we talk about horses, you're going to have to picture them printing their proud hoofs in the earth. And I can't quote any of it from memory.
But the gist is, this is a bigger story than this stage will hold.
Oh, we're all going to go on an adventure, so come along. And Hamilton embodies that to the nth degree.
I can't wait till he gets his EGOT.
Yeah, I mean, that's an EGOT track, right?
It really, and again, having met a bunch of the company, the cast and the crew, it's clear they're having the time of their lives, and it's
Well,
so exciting to see.
I mean, how often does something come along that captures the public imagination at this level?
Absolutely.
I want to track the Google Wikipedia and traffic for Alexander Hamilton, the historical figure.
Oh,
Well,
you're right.
I'm
It's
sure
gotta
there's a
be.
spike for the Isaacson biography like 10 years ago, and then there's the little spike for the one that came out 3 or 4 years ago, right? And then there's one that is like to the floor
Yeah, for the musical.
for the musical. Yeah.
Hilarious. Yeah, that was an incredible thing.
What else in New York? Anything else while you were there?
We ate well. New York was beautiful. I love New York in late March, early April when it's just warming up.
That first day that people put warm clothes on,
It's
and
a
they're just
thing.
like, the winter's over. Let's bring it. It's so good.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. And then I spent a week in LA, which was lovely. We had a lot of productive meetings, and like I said, I did Thrilling Adventure Hour at Largo. Boy, that company is so inviting and so welcoming. But Paul F. Tompkins made me improvise a song on stage.
Do they post those as podcasts?
I think they do.
Okay.
I will find, and we can link to it after
okay.
this. Improvising a song may be one of the most terrifying things I've ever done, and I'm including sinking in an underwater car.
Yeah.
How long of a song? And you you had a band.
There was a full band backing up, and an incredible. I mean, the company is amazing. You know, they're all wonderful. Hal Lublin, Busy Phillips, Paget Brewster, and Acker and Blacker, and everybody else. Mark Evan Jackson. They're so welcoming and so lovely that you're just like, okay. Fuck it, I'm just going in. I solved the problem of a long song in a way that I hope worked. It was a great night.
So, like, having to make up a song on the spot is such a dad thing. Like, you know, because you sing the songs of nonsense to your children.
Right.
But, I mean, I assume you're a little out of practice from that because it's been a few years.
It's true.
And what was your song about, Adam?
The sketch was I was a genie. I was actually a union representative genie because wish granting wasn't going according to plan.
You sing really slow tempo, and then
I think I went to opera voice.
4 words that rhyme, and you're good.
That's exactly. I was gratified when the other actors were saying, yes, no, improvising a song is terrifying for everybody.
Yeah. Poof.
I chose the wrong word to rhyme.
Why did I pick orange? Oh God!
I believe I saw recently that Eminem was able to rhyme a couple of words with orange.
I don't know if we should encourage that behavior,
in a
sir.
rap battle.
I guess that'll do it for us this week. This is
A little bit of a catch up.
Wide-ranging podcast, but we're
Nice
back on
to
the
be
normal
back.
schedule.
Yes.
Now, and everybody's around for a little while. Although I'm going to LA next week. I think.
You are.
So yeah. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and we'll be back next week with another edition of Still Untitled. Norm, anything on Tested this week?
Yeah, a bunch of stuff. You'll want to watch the video we have going up Thursday. I can't say any more than that, but we got some exciting stuff this Thursday. And then check out Will's thing.
Yeah, foovr.com, or if you're on Oculus, or hopefully Steam, you can look for the Foo Show. See you guys later.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
This week's episode of Still Untitled is also brought to you by Casper Mattresses, obsessively engineered American-made mattresses at a shockingly fair price. And now you can get $50 toward any Casper purchase by going to casper.com/untitled and using the offer code, you guessed it, Untitled, just like the name of this podcast. Casper brings together 2 comfy technologies for better nights and brighter days: latex foam and memory foam. So they get just the right amount of sink and just the right bounce no matter how you sleep. They also have a risk-free trial and return policy. The mattress gets delivered straight to you and you can try it for 100 days. Actually sleep on it for 3 months. And if you're not happy, they'll pick it back up. It's $500 for a twin-size mattress and $950 for a king-size mattress. Comparing that to industry averages is a great price point. So get $50 toward any Casper purchase by going to casper.com/untitled and using the offer code Untitled. Terms and conditions may apply, and we'll see you next week.